Spring-Summer 2026 Runway Trends Fashion Week Outfit Inspiration. Welcome to Fashion Trend Updates, where I explore the most exciting ideas shaping the future of style. Today, I'm diving into Spring-Summer 2026 runway trends and how they translate into real outfit inspiration from Fashion Week. I think this season feels like a quiet revolution rather than a dramatic shift. Have you noticed how fashion is becoming more thoughtful and intentional lately? The mood of Spring-Summer 2026. I think the overall mood of this season is softer yet more confident. In my experience, designers are moving away from extremes and embracing balance. What I find interesting is how this creates a sense of calm within bold creativity. Feels refreshing. A shift toward wearability. I think runway fashion is becoming more wearable than ever. In my experience, outfits now feel closer to real life. What I find interesting is how this shift makes high fashion more relatable. It bridges the gap between runway and street style. Unlike previous seasons that focused heavily on dramatic statements, I think this year feels more refined. In my experience, subtlety is replacing excess. What I find interesting is how quieter designs often leave a stronger impression. Feels intentional. The rise of soft tailoring. I think soft tailoring is one of the defining trends this season. In my experience, structured pieces are becoming more relaxed. What I find interesting is how this creates comfort without losing elegance. It's a perfect balance. Color palettes that speak calm. I think the color palettes are more muted and harmonious. In my experience, pastels and earthy tones dominate the runway. What I find interesting is how these colors create emotional calm. They feel wearable and timeless. A surprising take on minimalism. What surprises me is how minimalism is evolving rather than staying static. I think it's becoming more expressive without losing simplicity. In my experience, minimal looks now include subtle details that add depth. Do you think minimalism can still feel exciting? Textures over prints. I think texture is replacing bold prints in many collections. In my experience, fabrics like silk, sheer layers, and linen add dimension. What I find interesting is how texture creates visual interest quietly. Feels sophisticated. The influence of street style. I think street style continues to influence runway fashion. In my experience, designers are paying attention to everyday wear. What I find interesting is how this creates a dialogue between designers and real people. Feels collaborative. Comfort as a luxury. I think comfort is becoming a form of luxury in fashion. In my experience, relaxed silhouettes dominate the runway. What I find interesting is how comfort now feels stylish rather than casual. Changes perception. Statement pieces with purpose. I think statement pieces are still present but more intentional. In my experience, one standout item often defines the outfit. What I find interesting is how this avoids overwhelming the look. It creates clarity. Layering with lightness. I think layering this season feels lighter and more breathable. In my experience, heavy layers are being replaced with airy combinations. What I find interesting is how this adds depth without discomfort. Feels practical. Why simplicity stands out. I think simple outfits are standing out more than complex ones. In my experience, clean silhouettes draw attention naturally. What I find interesting is how understated looks feel more confident. It's a quiet strength. The role of confidence. I think confidence remains the most important trend. In my experience, how an outfit is worn matters more than the outfit itself. What I find interesting is how confidence transforms perception. It elevates everything. Blending classic and modern. I think combining classic pieces with modern elements defines this season. In my experience, this blend creates depth and versatility. What I find interesting is how contrast keeps outfits interesting. Feels fresh. Fashion as self-expression. I think fashion is becoming more personal and expressive. In my experience, individuality is replacing uniform trends. What I find interesting is how this creates diversity in style. Feels authentic. The emotional side of runway trends. I think runway trends now carry emotional meaning. In my experience, designers are telling deeper stories through clothing. What I find interesting is how fashion connects with identity. It becomes more than appearance. From runway to real life. I think translating runway trends into real life is easier this season. In my experience, wearable elements dominate collections. What I find interesting is how this encourages experimentation. Feels accessible. What truly defines this season? I think what truly defines spring-summer 2026 is balance. In my experience, it's about blending comfort, elegance, and individuality. What I find interesting is how this creates timeless appeal. It feels lasting. Final thoughts and reflection. As I reflect on spring-summer 2026 runway trends, I truly believe this season marks a shift toward more meaningful and wearable fashion. I think it's about expressing individuality while embracing simplicity and comfort. What runway trend would you actually wear in your everyday life? If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe to Fashion Trend Updates for more fashion insights and inspiration.